The next is the Coastal Burwood Community Board, and that's page 20, begins on page 20. Kim Money and Linda Stewart, I think, and Tim Sinters as well. I think, Linda, you chaired the submissions panel on this one, didn't you?
Keep smiling at us.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Crystal. There we are.
Good afternoon, councillors, Leanne and staff and community. Firstly, I'd just like to introduce, I'm Kim Money, I'm the chair of the board, and with me today we have Linda Stewart, who's the chair of our submissions committee. We have Tim Sinters, who's deputy chair, and Jo Wells, our board governance manager. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. I'll now hand over to Linda.
Okay, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do with this annual plan submission is get the best outcome we can because we know that with the red zone issues that have still to be resolved, we can't put a lot into the west and north side of the Burwood ward at all. So with a lot of thought, we've come up with a plan that looks at how we can get the best out of both wards by focusing on the coastal ward for now.
To set the scene for our annual plan submission, I would like to refresh your memories on an analogy most of you have heard me use before that points out how the coastal Burwood ward has potential to add real value to the entire city. The analogy: we are all the family living in a lovely house called the city, but unfortunately 2 rooms require serious renovation. The first room, the kitchen, the hub, the central part of the house, actually requires a complete rebuild, which is going to take a very long time, but will be amazing. The other room is the largest living room with stunning panoramic views and has potential for indoor-outdoor living and entertainment. The family, that's you, got together and decided that this living room, once renovated, had huge potential to add real value to the house. That this living room, once renovated, could be enjoyed by the whole family while waiting for the kitchen hub to be rebuilt. That this living room would also be enjoyed by all the visitors who came to the house. So the living room, coastal Burwood, has real untapped potential to add value to the entire city. If you'd just like to look at slide number 2, just for a few of those points. This analogy requires a shift in our thinking across the city, from equality to equity, and we all know that must reflect when it comes to the slicing of the pie. We are very encouraged to see that that shift has begun, and may it continue. Slide 3. Under the capital program, the board recognises and supports the program of capital projects identified for our ward, in particular Hot Saltwater Pools Phase 1, Suburban Master Plan for New Brighton, and the New Brighton Master Plan Streetscapes. These work together hand in hand. I must mention at this point the awesome effort by the community around the submission numbers, approximately I think 828, about 60% of the submissions to the annual plan. Thank you everybody for doing that, that was just awesome. Development Christchurch Limited, DCL, has been engaged by Council to lead a regeneration project in New Brighton. Our board is working with them on this and support the work they are doing along with Regenerate Christchurch Limited. The hot saltwater pools are critical to maximising the success of the other elements of the New Brighton Regeneration Plan. Securing this budget will signal to our community that our regeneration has finally begun and restore some hope. The investment in the living room adds real value to the city and our citizens. This beach is a metropolitan beach, the closest to many areas of our city. To quote from Peter Townsend's article in the press on the 28th of April 17, quote, "It is therefore timely to consider the unique points of difference that will make Christchurch the most livable city in New Zealand. Our city of the future will be defined by the experiences of its residents and its visitors, end quote. The hot saltwater pools will be a unique metropolitan visitor attraction and it has strong community support. Therefore, we support the provision of the 11.2 million in this annual plan.
I'm talking to the Kiwi2 slide. See, there's a great big thank you there, and we mean it from the bottom of our hearts. The ward is going to get its heart back. So we've asked for the 21,000 to be brought forward to keep the project rocking along with no hold-ups. And the other aspect that we're looking at with Kiwi2 Park is a master plan. And the board has acknowledged that the community's level of interest is extremely high, and that is mainly because it's right in the heart of the ward, right in the middle of both wards. It has great public transport routes and it's going to have the 2 high schools. So it will be the beating heart of the ward again. When the board would like a leadership role in the master planning to maximise the investment of so many key stakeholders.
Other capital projects that we'd like to highlight is Thompson Park and Pages Road. Keen to address these concerns and issues raised by our community. If you see there up on the slide, there's Pages Road there. It's the main entry and thoroughfare into New Brighton, needs to be uncoupled from the bridge budget. This repair is urgent. Operational maintenance levels of service for New Brighton. The board supports increasing the level of service to match the increasing use of the area for national, citywide and local events. Our monthly board presentations have highlighted these events, for example, Coast to Coast, New Zealand Surf Life Saving Championships, the Ray White Duke Festival of Surfing, Guy Fawkes Kite Day, buskers, just to name a few, and approximately the 10,000 visitors we get to the pier each month. Operational budgets need to support this increased use of the area together with a high level of maintenance. So we're saying pre and post events on public holidays and hot days. For example, mowing the long grass before the Anzac Day service. Think of it as a spring clean for the living room.
Now this slide here looks at Palmer's Road and Brymont Street. Brymont Street is in Avondale and it's on the edge of the residential red zone. These 2 areas have fallen through the cracks in the street renewals.
Literally. Oh, sorry.
Sorry?
I said literally fallen through the cracks.
Yes, I like that. That was funny. It just took a long time to get to me.
Good on you.
No.
Long term.
I think it went into the long-term plan, but the area is pretty, it's devastated and very similar to what Ali was talking about in the submission just before us. In those areas, in particular Palmer's Road, there's a lot of elderly people, there's people with disabilities, and there's the social housing. It's got the old-fashioned guttering, I've forgotten what you call it now, but thank you. Yeah, it's pretty soul-destroying to look at the place. So we're asking if those can be brought forward as priority.
It's at the end of the street is red zoned, isn't it? I mean, these both are right on the edge.
But it's not actually in the red zone.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, it's
right.
It's not in the
I mean,
red
not in
zone.
the red zone.
No, Brymont Street is on the edge of the red zone, not Palmer's Road.
But Palmer's Road has got red zone in it.
At the very end.
At the end, down by the river.
By the
yes.
river.
Street, Rawson Street, Pratt Street, and they've all been done.
Yeah.
Right to the Brighton Road.
Yeah. And we've got to find out why this hasn't been done.
Thanks, Dave. Right, we're looking at this slide, and yet this is the second time you've seen it. We have to say the work that has been done in conjunction with the Papanui Innes Board has been really stunning work. The building complements the environment very carefully. There's a lot of community-led input, so that's saved on the costs. And really, all it needs now is water to make it go. 50,000 would be great.
Not salt.
No, that's up. That's north. No, that's south, isn't it? Yeah, that's down south. Okay, and Kiwi Able. And look, this has been a really good project that has worked for a number of years, and since the earthquakes, it's kind of fallen down through the cracks and didn't have a priority, and partly because we didn't have the pools to meet the needs of people. There is a little bit of blurring of the lines here. Initially, Kiwi Able was for disabled people. It was a form that your doctor, in consultation with the patient, would sign off, and then they could get out there and use the pools, and they could do a whale watch outing, other things like that. And it was really aimed at getting people with disabilities out into the community and reduce that social isolation thing, which I think is a pretty big one for people with disabilities. Then you've got the community services card, which does almost the same things, and it's a good process as well. And then of course you've got the gold card, and I'm just a wee bit concerned that if we don't keep Kiwi Able for disabled people and up the ante so that we're catching up and giving them the incentive to get out again, then the lines become a little bit blurred and people really don't know what's going on. Kiwi Able was always flowing under the radar, really. It was only when people knew that you had a Kiwi Able card, and I do have one, that they went out there and got one themselves. So we'd really like to see some thought go into that one.
Right, feedback on consultation process. We'd just like to highlight this a little bit. Project details in the annual plan consultation summary for each ward contain acronyms and a lack of detail, which makes it difficult for board members, especially newbies like me, and members of the public to know what they are giving feedback on. As part of creating an inclusive democratic process, the board would like to see project names simplified and a short project summary available online for each project in an annual plan long-term plan. And we've just shown up there, staff have found something that the Sea Pen Park Reservoir replacement is a real good example on that. So we'll leave that one with you. Really know that staff are open to that anyway. I'd just like to highlight here a note. As you are aware, the estuary edge and the flood protection is a very high priority for our board and our community. We are continuing to pursue a resolution with the relevant authorities. And finally, the Coastal Burwood Community Board would like to formally and respectfully request the Council ratify our 17-18 annual plan budget. So thank you again for the opportunity to present. With your help, we look forward to getting the hot saltwater pools and our regeneration started. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Dion?
Thanks for the great presentation. Just got a couple of questions around the level of service. Do you think there would be more staff needed? Do you think there's a gap of amount of staff in the area? Is it a budget thing that we need more money for it?
I think that's probably a question that probably needs to be taken to staff. So, yeah, I'm not sure whether it needs to be, increased staff or whether it needs to be the budget, but that we're happy to sit down with staff and work through that. So, yeah, sorry, I can't answer that question.
And I was just looking at Palmer's Road, and it might be something to go back, but CPMS ID 33627 is about the wastewater mains renewal. That's budgeted for 2018-2019. There's $1.5 million. And then there's CPMS ID 23877, which is about the Palmer's Road reconstruction renewal. That was tied in, I think it was $57,000 for this financial year, so there has been a study on it, so it might be good to find where that is actually at, so that we can actually maybe tie in all of that work to get done at the same time.
Thank you.
Yeah, it'd be probably quite a good thing to do.
Thank you.
Yep. Do you want Chris to respond now?
Palmer's Road has been deferred to follow on with the wastewater work. So it is in the draft annual payment budget for financial year 1920. Palmer's Road is 3 years away. It has been deferred as part of this draft annual payment. It is coordinated with wastewater work.
So when will the wastewater works be completed?
Yeah, 18-19 is what I'm looking at the moment. So there's $150,000 this year, $192 for next financial year, and then the main bulk of the work looks like it's 18-19.
Our understanding is that it doesn't actually include, that budget doesn't actually include the roading and the footpath renewal, so.
No, but what he's saying is that comes after
comes after.
that's been done. I mean, you wouldn't dig up the road and then redig it up, but
It's actually quite disappointing. We've been asking about Farmers Road now for probably 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And to actually finally get the answer today, or go through when we get the master sheet, it's there. But could anyone tell us that 3 months ago? No.
well, we have an issue around some of the programs, and we do need to get on top of that.
It's obviously been programmed for 2019.
Yes, so the question we need to ask is
We asked
whether,
this question on a tour 3 or 4 months ago.
Yep.
And the only answer has now just come out in the report we've received
Yep.
this week.
which in terms of the annual plan and the process that we're trying to go through here, is that I guess one of the questions that I would ask is whether we could look at bringing forward the underlying works, and that way that it would be, so it's the question is whether the wastewater work be brought forward. So, but we'll just make a note of that and consider that in conjunction with your request.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for that. That's really good news. Thank you.
Yeah. Who else? Yanni? Sorry?
Just wanted to check in terms of the midges. Did your board discuss the issue with the midges? I know last year you asked if we could put additional funding on budget to address that issue that was causing a lot of annoyance to
We've
local.
actually got a meeting with the property concerned Wednesday. Tonight, sorry. Better get there. Yeah, to address this. It's not an easy one to address, but we're going to get everybody on site and have another discussion and just relook at everything that's been done and the possibilities going forward.
Okay, but at this
It's
stage
a huge issue.
you're not asking us for any extra resource to deal with it.
Well, not at this stage. We need to talk with what sort of requirements are needed, and then we'll discuss that with staff.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just out of time, but
Okay, may I offer a quick explanatory on Bryman with street meetings there? The residents were told the land's still settling, yet streets around it have been renewed. So I'm not, for me, the rationale doesn't stack up. Pages Road, that will stay like that until the bridge is replaced, if we stay with the current.
if we
Kind of
do,
plans.
and that's the question that we've been asked, but we're going to have to
Yeah.
get a report from staff on
So
that.
that's why we've promoted detaching it from the bridge.
We can't actually detach Pages Road from the bridge.
Financially from the bridge.
I know what you mean. But anyway, look, thank you very much. And I mean, you've raised some really good issues, and we'll get underneath the detailed elements of each of those requests that you've made.
Thank you.
So
Really
thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Right.